Leave me alone.
We all tired.
I don't want to hear your excuses. We're talking about me.
This man said, I was all about me.
Look, I almost overslept for this. So,
Hey, I get it, bro. Well, anyway, welcome to another episode of the Traveling Hoopers podcast. I am your host, Alan Pettigrew Jr. In front of me are my two friends, Calvin and Philip. Go ahead and introduce you guys.
um, you know, what's up, everybody? As usual, I'm here. I'm Calvin McGowan II, and I'm probably going to be watching more women's basketball today than men, because like the men don't look that interesting on paper. But yeah, it's been good. Like basketball's been good recently.
What's up? My name is Philip Dixon, aka Mr. Salad, and Alan, I am not your friend.
That's cool. That doesn't hurt my feelings.
That
We
you
just-
saying that cool hurt mine. Ignorant man.
uh, but let's go ahead and get into the news for the day. Let's go ahead and just talk about the Nets. They recently picked up LaMarcus Aldridge from the buyout, and then they got Blake Griffin, which means they now have a starting five that have all been previous All-Stars, but it does not matter because only 3 of them are currently All-Stars.
I mean, Blake Griffin was like, you heard his interview, and Blake Griffin was like, he like asked him how he felt about LaMarcus Aldridge coming, and Blake Griffin was like, I mean, I don't get it. For the last 2 years, people been telling me I'm bad, so all of a sudden I'm good again to y'all. Like I truly don't get it. So like, I know what I am, and like I listen to like my basketball circle of people I trust who know actually about basketball. But outside of that, y'all fickle. I was crying because he was just speaking real truth. You know what I mean? He was like, all of a sudden, I'm good again right now. Like y'all tripping. But uh, I'm a really big Blake Griffin fan. If you know me, you know basketball. You know that to be the case. So any chance for him to get a championship, I'm okay with. When it comes to Kevin Durant and like people getting upset, they're like Kevin Durant can't win a championship by himself. Kevin Durant, no one wins a championship by themselves. But also, I'm perfectly okay with like player control in the NBA and like players having the decisions to do what players want to do. Now, if it's you going to a team that beat you the year before in the playoffs in the 7-game series, then like that kind of hurts me in like a competitive nature kind of way. But if you just join it up with whatever to go to this team, like when LeBron did it, I was hurt, but I was also like 17. So like I was like 17, 16. So my whole mindset about things was different. Now I'm like player control. You do what you want. You know what I mean? So
Yeah. See, I personally don't have an issue with it. I'm glad it's happening because this is what's kind of supposed to happen at the tail end of your career. Like, whatever team is good, you're supposed to go help them get a chip.
who's at the tail end?
For Blake Griffin and LaMarcus Aldridge, they're not getting back to All-Star level. Like, do you think that's safe to say that neither one of them are going to be All-Stars again in their career? Maybe Blake Griffin has a case, but I don't think Blake Griffin or LaMarcus Aldridge are going back to All-Star level. So when we're looking at your peak and seeing how far you are away from your peak and how long you've been in there, they're closer to out than in.
Yeah. Let's see.
I mean, like,
Mark Aldridge is close to his tail end because he's 35 years old. Blake Griffin's just 32. You know what I mean? He got like he's tail end being like, I guess the back half of his career. Yeah, but 32 years old for a guy who plays a low post who has a good footwork, he can be in the league for a while. You know what I mean? Especially if he plays for teams that he don't have to like carry on his back. You know what I mean? Like he gonna have. Blake Griffin has a kind of games where he could legitimately play until he's like 38, 39. Marcus Aldridge, he gonna be out like 2-3 years. I'm not gonna lie to you because like what he's averaging when for the Spurs like 12 points a game the last like 2 years, something like that. So like he on the tail end, but like he's also older. You know what I mean by like 3 years. So
So why can't we say the same about Blake Griffin? I know this is like one of your favorite players, but considering the season that he was having in Detroit and then barely playing last season, right, because of injuries, and then knowing what we know about all of his injuries, wouldn't it be safer to say that this?
I mean, I'm not gonna be mad if you make the argument. You know what I mean? But 3 years in the NBA is a significant amount of time. That's 3 seasons. You know what I mean? Like 3 seasons in the NBA, unless you're LeBron James, like that's a significant amount of time. And if let's say, for instance, let's say they both go to play for the age of 40, the age of 39, whatever, right? All of a sudden, you're going from 5 years to 8 years, and that's like a big difference. You know what I mean? So that's why I personally, but I don't foresee, but like LaMarcus Aldridge, I also can foresee, to like go towards your point, to kind of backtrack on my own. LaMarcus Aldridge, I don't know what he does outside of basketball. Blake Griffin has for years actually already been setting up his career post basketball doing comedy, like stand-up comedy and being in movies and so on and so forth. So I can see Blake Griffin transitioning out in like a much more seamless way, because he's not trying to be a basketball player that like keeps going till the wheels fall off. You know what I mean? So like that kind of goes to your point and less on my point, but like I don't know. Like if you're thinking like age, 8 to 5 years makes a difference if you're going to add 40 as a baseline, but then but also it could transition the opposite way, just from like their post, what they set up for themselves post career.
Okay, I feel you. So with this signing, has this changed anything you've expected for the Brooklyn Nets?
I mean, yes.
So, I mean, I would really need to see them to have an opinion in that regard, but like, if nothing else, if for no other reason, like you don't need them for anything else, they'll probably improve the defense of the team, like in not so much in an effort way, but in like an actual talent and ability way. Like from what I saw watching the Nets, the degree to which their defense is any good at all is completely because dudes have used effort and not because they're actually good at defending players. Like with Griffin and Aldridge, you have some dudes that are better at actually defending people. They may not be the best defenders at this point in their careers, but like they are the lead. They should still be much better than other players on the team, and just like they have big men now, kind of like. So that's. I mean, Aldridge definitely counts. Griffin mostly counts, depending on how you want to look at where you want to put him in. But yeah.
I mean, I think about it like this. James Harden is unreal. Point blank period, whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
And James Harden was unreal. And actually, no matter what anybody says, for the teams that he had in Houston, he did very, very well against like a dynasty, right? Mm-hmm. Those Golden State Warrior teams were objectively ridiculous. And he did well against them several seasons. James Harden right now is putting up better, if not the exact same numbers, with these other people that are Blake Griffin, who, no matter what you say, very high basketball IQ. It hadn't played on a team that takes, the offense is not ran through him, mainly since the Clipper days, 3-4 years ago, whatever. LaMarcus Aldridge, who a big man sit there and shoot jump shots, and he's a little soft, but whatever. But just sit there and just shoot jump shots, that's fine, right? But at the end of the day, strong basketball IQ. And then just toss in Kevin Durant and toss in Kyrie, right? Now, I know they're hurt now, but they're obviously being precautionary before the playoffs start. Like, with just James Harden, what have they been? Like, the last they've been like 17-3 or something like that, like the last like 20 games, something nuts like that, which just seems hard. With Blake Griffin for 3 or 4 of those games, and with no LaMarcus Aldridge, and Kevin Durant for a little bit of them, and Kyrie for who knows how many of them. I can't keep track if he's playing or not. Just with James Harden being the point guard and having these people around him, before I was like, I didn't know who was going to win between Philadelphia and the Nets. It was a toss-up to me, honestly, because Joel Embiid was playing out of his mind before he got injured. And it's not even like a crazy injury. He's going to come back from it, right? But the Nets are winning the NBA championship this year. The Nets are winning the NBA championship, and I think this is the first time where I've been able to call it this early in the season and been okay with it. Like, I kind of like Kevin Durant again. I don't know why. I did not like him for a long time because of what he did in Golden State, but I think I like him because, okay, I say everything about Kevin Durant. I think it's less about Kevin Durant and more that I really want James Harden to get a championship. Like, James Harden is one of the most disrespected superstars in league history for as long as I can remember the league. Like, since I've been cognizant and aware. People love to hate James Harden. Now, does he make it easy sometimes? Obviously, right? But in the day, people love to hate James Harden. If James Harden gets a chip, you can't say nothing to me about James Harden because James Harden's running this team right now. He's legitimately running it. So you can't say nothing about James Harden no more if James Harden wins a championship, and I'm rooting for James Harden over anybody else because he done gone through a lot. Those Houston days, man, like, listen, James Harden get a championship, and I'm all for it. It's less about Kevin Durant, more about James Harden, less about Kyrie to me, and more about Blake Griffin, James Harden, and I truly don't care about LaMarcus Aldridge. He's the softest big man since Roy Hibbert. Like, I truly don't care.
You
what? It's like I disagree with some of what you said, but I will say that I don't want the Nets to win a championship, and I'm comfortable saying that. But
you a hater.
It's just I thought about it and I understand why I don't want them to, and I'll accept it. I'll accept that one. But Harden is the most important player on that team, right? We can.
Yes.
KD. Here's the thing. KD is probably the best. That's fair, right? But Harden is the most important. Their offense does not run like they need it to with no Harden. Because Kyrie
is not a point guard.
He's not a point guard for real. He's just an undersized 2. And KD was never a point guard and is a decent enough passer, but he's not a facilitator for real.
No.
And Harden is an amazing facilitator and a good volume scorer and he gets to the line at a disgusting rate. But if he gets hurt, right, they will not, if something happens that puts him out for the season, they're not winning a championship.
No, you're right.
Because he can work because of his facilitation ability. He can work with the other players in a way that the other players can't necessarily work with each other without him.
Yeah.
But also I would just like to throw out there they have Griffin and Aldridge signed to that team for a combined $2.1 million. Which is well below market value. I just want to even if we're they're basically washed versions of themselves. That is well below market value.
First of all, James Harden don't get hurt unless you elbow him in the head. James Harden, for whatever reason, his game is just so below the rim that there's no opportunity for him to get hurt. But you would think the way he shoots threes, where he's flying into people and lunging 4-3, that his ankles would be shot a little bit. But this man really underratedly he plays crazy minutes. But in an underrated way, he's in a LeBron James league in terms of just not getting hurt, but playing crazy minutes. but LeBron obviously stands out more because
like,
LeBron, and he's like a physical, like he's a physical, like, oh, I don't know, I don't like necessarily.
Anomaly.
I don't like calling people basketball players freaks, but he's just physically superior in terms of athleticism amongst everybody. So he just is like in more compromising positions to get hurt. Besides this year, but he's 36 and whatever. But
like he did just get hurt.
Yeah, he's just got hurt, but he just got hurt for the first time in his career at 36, like truly hurt. You know what I mean? And what a run it was. But James Harden is like, in terms of durability, is on that same level. You know what I mean? So like, I'm okay with, like, I'm pretty confident in him not getting hurt. It's just everyone else. And Kyrie's not even hurt a lot of times. It's like, is Kyrie going to be mentally? For a while, it was Kyrie getting hurt physically, but that was like mentally, like, was he going to be there? Whatever. Kevin Durant, obviously, Kevin's he's coming off these big injuries, and then Blake Griffin had, he was injury prone for the last like 2 years in Detroit. So
I don't think you can rule out injuries for Kyrie either. Hasn't he been injured like every season?
He's been injured a crazy amount, but for some reason in my mind, this could be obviously wrong, but it's like he hasn't been injured physically. Well, for Boston, he missed the whole playoff series injured.
He missed Brooklyn. He missed a good amount of time last year with Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Oh no, Kyrie, you finished too. So, but like Kyrie, I don't know why my mind thought that, but Kyrie is injury prone. Like, Kyrie's injury prone. Kevin Durant wasn't for a long time. Now it seems to be that case for him. Blake Griffin, when you were at one point that athletic, it was just bound to happen. You know what I mean? But LaMarcus, he plays, but like he's so boring to watch. I'm not gonna lie to you, man. He's the most timid big man. Whatever. I hate big men who shoot a lot of jump shots, but like 100%. Because I hate on his game. He did really good over Portland. Then has not been to that level since. He had like a good year with Spurs. The year
that first year was San Antonio.
Yeah, that Tim Duncan retired or something like that. But like, I truly don't care about his game at all. But it is what it is. But yeah, I mean, I'm old. Look, the Nets win championship. I'm not mad at it. James Harden. It's gonna be because James Harden too. He's gonna win MVP. Watch. I'm calling it right now. Nets win the playoffs. Nets win the finals. James Harden is the MVP, and everybody's gonna be mad, and I'm gonna love it.
Finals MVP or regular season MVP?
As of right now, he could win both.
Oh, you feeling yourself?
Me personally, I want Dame to get regular season MVP. Personally, as of right now, because he's been doing some ridiculous things, and CJ was out for a long time too, and Nurkic is out right now.
Yeah.
And there's like the fourth seed or something like that. And Dame's been literally carrying them. You know what I mean? So I think Dame deserves MVP, but you know what they mean about what they do with MVPs.
Yeah. I got you. Yeah.
But like Dame deserves it more. But I wouldn't be surprised the way that the Nets are playing if James Harden got it, especially with LeBron being out and with Embiid being out.
What other trade deadline news and such? The Nuggets acquired Aaron Gordon for, dang it, who'd they give up? Did they get Hampton?
Harris?
Yeah, they gave up Hampton, Harris, and a first rounder.
Yeah.
I like
this. Yeah, this is the first trade I've seen in a while where I really feel like both sides won. Like, the Magic got a youngish vet in Harris. Like, Harris knows how to ball. And then Hampton, like, them adding Hampton is going to give them one of the, like, most interesting long-term backcourts in, like, all of the NBA. We're talking about Markelle Fultz. We're talking about RJ Hampton. We're talking about Cole Anthony. Like, those are at least two dudes that we know can score at this level in Cole Anthony and Markelle Fultz. And then RJ Hampton is probably one of the most athletic guards that we have in the entire league. Like, that's just going to be a really interesting, like, trio of guards for, like, the next 3 or 4 years. Because I think that's the amount of time that they really have to prove something. And then Aaron Gordon is exactly who I feel like the Nuggets need and have been looking for. Like we talking about like a 6'9" small forward, power forward type dude who's athletic and pretty good at defense when their 6'9", 6'10" small forward is not. So, and I really want to see Michael Porter Jr. and Aaron Gordon on the court together. I don't know what it's going to do, but I just feel like the spacing that Porter gives with like the ability to cut that Gordon has, like, I'm interested. See, I told you I like Aaron Gordon.
I mean, Aaron Gordon just fits in well with a lot of teams. This is saying his playing style just is like easily like, placeable. Especially when you have your best player is a big man who just passes the ball to cutters and to people for open jump shots. And Aaron Gordon doesn't ever need to be doing too much. Jump shots, cuts, dunks. That's what he needs to do. And the Nuggets fits perfectly with that system. So,
yeah. All right. I guess we should talk about Andre Drummond too, since we over here.
Yeah, we should. He went to the Lakers, and the contract that he signed, that was the money that he paid that he gave to the Cavs for his buyout. So and he's like a cap hit for like a little over 500,000. Like they have enough room to add another player if they want to for some reason. So this is just, it's actually kind of dumb when I'm saying it out loud. I mean, granted, the Lakers are probably going to struggle because no AD, no LeBron, and like Drummond, if you just let him do what he wants to do, is kind of just an empty stats guy.
the Lakers aren't gonna make the Western Conference, or they're not gonna make the finals. Simple as that.
You think even with LeBron and AD coming back at some point, I imagine. Let's say they come back at the end of the month. You still don't think they'll make the finals?
I really think the Rondo pickup for the Clippers is huge. Like, it doesn't need necessarily about Rondo.
That's fair.
It doesn't necessarily make like the stats. Like, oh my gosh, like what's he doing? Like regular season, that don't matter. Like, what the Clippers needed was a smart assist man who has a strong basketball IQ and who has leadership, like true leadership qualities. And the only reason the Lakers won the NBA championship last year is because of Rondo. Because they were struggling without Rondo. Like, they just were, right? And I truly think that Rondo makes that much of a difference, especially on, like, a teetering team of, like, are you good or are you great? Rondo is the kind of player and has proven himself over and over and over again to jump you from good to great. Point blank, period. And a lot of times, it is things that, this is a cliche amongst, basketball coaches, but he does things that don't show up on the stat sheet. But it's just true. You know what I mean? Because essentially he's a coach on the floor. So I do think that even with the pickup of Andre Drummond, the Lakers don't go to the NBA Finals this year. Like, and if they did win and they did go to the NBA Finals, like we just mentioned, they ain't winning the NBA Finals because we all know who that is.
So, what I will say with that is, one, you reminded me that there was one game, I can't remember if it was the NBA Finals or the series before, but Vogel pulled Rondo when Rondo would seem like he was trying to make a comeback by himself. Like, it was one of the games they lost. I didn't understand that because he got like two steals and like layups straight up or something. Like he was, and like Vogel just time to come out. It's like, why would you do that? But I'm sorry. More to the point though, it's just like he's really good for the Clippers, like you said, because like actually probably the best thing outside of just making everybody more dangerous when he's on the floor is just like he doesn't fold and like
doesn't fold. He will make sure he don't fold.
Like we know like Paul George will fold, and like Kawhi will. He doesn't fold so much as like he just might not show up. Like he'll try. It just like he might just have a bad game for real, which happens. Fair enough. But like, it's just like it's just like the thing is like, if we say like Kawhi folds, it's more like he didn't make the shots he needed to make. It's not like him just disappearing and not taking shots and whatever.
See, it was funny because we say like, but like, that happened one time out of his career. like literally one time. This man won 2 chips.
And like, that's why I didn't really say like he folds for real. Like we know Paul George folds.
But you didn't say like, people have said that, right? Like they've lumped him weirdly off of 1 year into like this Paul George like sphere, and like you can't do that because they're 2 different players. One has 2 championships. One has a Finals MVP 2 years ago, like not even that long ago. And the other's Paul George, who we all know significantly folds, then blames Doc Rivers when Doc Rivers is gone. And then Doc Rivers takes the 76ers from like teetering to, oh wow, Joel Embiid's an MVP player. It's whatever. I think I just hate Paul George now. So
I mean, I guess the Nets hate has to go somewhere.
I guess.
I feel like one thing you guys didn't mention with the Rondo signing, well, I guess you did, but not fully say it with words. This kind of helps Kawhi too, just keeping him off the ball. Like we saw what it was with Toronto. Like, yes, Kawhi has become a really good playmaker in himself, but that's burning the candle at 2 ends with Kawhi. Like, he doesn't need to be your best perimeter playmaker, your best scorer, and your best defender.
Like it's crazy. Yeah, he can do 2 out of 3, but not 3 out of 3. Like it's
exactly
like,
2 out of 3 is too hard. 2 out of 3 is hard.
Like Kawhi is one of those guys, right? Where when Kawhi's in his spots, when Kawhi's in his spot, you literally can't stop him. Like it's literally impossible, right? We saw it with the Spurs and we saw it with the Raptors. All of a sudden with the Clippers, Kawhi's not hitting his spots, or he's trying to hit his spots, but it's much more difficult, especially when you have a point guard who is, Patrick Beverley, for all he is, Patrick Beverley's the kind of player where in 25 years, we're going to be sitting there watching somebody and be like, man, he reminds me of Patrick Beverley. And our kids are going to be like, who's that? Like, that's the kind of guy Patrick Beverley is going to be. Like, he's going to be a forgetful player, but for the people at the moment in the time when he was playing, we all remember him. But he's not going to do nothing in terms of a championship caliber team. You know what I mean? But if he comes to the bench, I'm all for that. But starting point guard? No. You need to have a man who knows what he's doing, has a strong basketball IQ, and goes, Kawhi, go on the block, and they can't stop you. You had Tony Parker doing it for you? Cool. You had Kyle Lowry doing it for you? Cool. Patrick Beverley can't do it for you. And Lou Will, off the bench, he just don't play that kind of game. All of a sudden, you got Rondo. It's going to be crazy. I'm just going to say, the Lakers going to have a tough time now.
Yeah. I would like to see Rondo and Kawhi argue at some point during this season. I feel like that would be hilarious.
What is that? Kawhi?
Oh.
Did Kawhi say, like, he was in, like, it was when he was in Toronto, and he just told the teammates, like, they didn't pay me all this money or something like that to pass you the ball. Did you hear about that?
I did not.
Yeah, Kawhi just in the locker room just says like low, like in his tone of voice, like low key, just slick things like that. Apparently all the time. Like, I'm here to score, not pass you the
ball. Is granted, like I don't think I say slick stuff like that, but there are plenty of quiet people who will just like say some slick stuff, and like it's not uncommon that folks just don't catch that mess. Like,
you quiet, but you're still an asshole.
Kinda, yeah. Like you just say stuff to say stuff. Like, yeah. But also, like, if I was his teammate, I'd start a fight. Like, I would fight him for that just because, like, he's not wrong.
You couldn't fight him. Wasn't again. He's getting paid this.
Yeah.
You won't find
He's
no.
still getting paid
In the
after
side
we
of that
fight.
man's hand. First time he slap you, gonna be like, I'm good. He
You
ain't
trying,
even got to ball his fist up. He gonna slap you, and you be like, okay, that's fine.
you trying to fight Kawhi? You're out the league. Like you're out the like the owners are so angry at you, they'll blackball you. Like it might it's bound to happen. Like Kawhi's a high commodity. Like
I
yeah,
like how the other 29 owners are mad at you too.
yeah.
Like come on, bro. This not
Oh,
even
you
your
like
money
Kawhi?
now.
Kawhi barely
That's
talk.
not a
Yeah, you
waste.
can't be on my team.
It's like you don't know how to treat nice things.
You know how to treat nice
Um,
things. Oh, they're just a whole
what was
human being.
Oh yes. So the the Thunder have let's see.
Every draft pick until
And
2026.
they have a crap ton of draft picks. Hold up, wait. Did
17
they
first,
trade
17
George
second.
Hill or did they get George Hill?
They traded George Hill.
Okay. Well, because of that trade, they now, in addition to having a crap ton of draft picks, also have a crap ton of exceptions. They have exceptions worth 27.5 mil, 12.8 mil, 10.1 mil, 9.5 mil, 7.4 mil, and 6.7 mil.
Do you understand why OKC is my favorite team?
No.
Because they do nonsense like this.
No, this, as far as I'm concerned, when everything is working out, this is one of the best franchises, period. I don't think there's too many front offices that are better. Nobody drafts. Okay, they are top 5 when it comes to drafting. And even when they do not have a good team, the product that they put on the court is solid. They're gonna try. They're gonna have a lot of heart. I'm not about to watch these kids, but they be trying. They really do. I just 34 picks until 2026. We can't get Cade this year. I don't really like nobody in this next draft like that to be saving a franchise. Look, we got chances. This is why I like OKC. They be trying. They give you hope. This is one of those franchises that's they gonna keep the dream alive. They gonna keep lying to you.
I don't like to be teased. They give you hope.
I do. If you're not gonna give me nothing, at least make me think I'm gonna get something. And that's what they do. They've been doing it since Kevin Durant left. I'm okay with
it. That's a crazy statement.
Don't
dangle a Twinkie in front of my face. Let me get that. You know what I mean?
But look, here's the thing. You know how hard it is to get. As far as I'm concerned, the Twinkie in the NBA is either having a really good team or being a championship.
That's why.
That's not for everybody.
That's why you're a fan of a team.
I don't think that's for the Thunder yet.
That's why you're a fan. That's why if you're a fan of a team in the NBA, only like one of like 6 teams.
Wait, say that again.
If you're a fan of a team in the NBA, you better be choosing 1 out of 6 or 7.
That's trash. That's trash.
You better be a Lakers fan, a Celtics fan. You know what I mean? You better be a Chicago Bulls fan. You better be a Heat fan.
Hold up, take that one back. They haven't been good for real since Jordan left.
Guess what? You still can, but even today, 2021, you can still hold on to that Jordan though. Just like it don't matter. You can still hold on to that Jordan.
Oh, okay.
Because they do.
Even when you
still
suck,
they still hold on to Jordan. That's all it is. You can do it, and you might be needing to be if everything goes right, a Nets fan.
Yeah. We'll see.
Historically good players in your franchise, I guess. We can talk about it. If we're talking about yesteryear love.
Yesteryear love. That's
right, because you know that's what it is with Michael Jordan. That's yesteryear love. It's like, stop. Why
no,
the Bulls fan because of Jordan?
It's not
because of Jordan, really?
It's not yesteryear when it's the GOAT. The GOAT.
It's yesteryear. Anyway. Yeah. OKC got a lot of draft picks.
Yeah, but like they still OKC, so it won't matter nothing.
I mean, they also with the exceptions, they also have a crap ton of money to spend. Which I'm assuming, like, Well, here's my thing with it, right? In fairness, I don't know exactly how long exceptions last, and it probably depends a bit on the exception, given that like you can trade them and such. But like, right? So they have a crap ton of draft picks, they have a crap ton of exceptions, and even if you want to sit and be like, free agents don't sign with OKC, like the OKCs of the world, like they can still like put some of like they can get some good young players and package a bunch of that stuff to give to some team who's going to be good in the next 2 or 3 years. Like who would actually want it for some player actually worth something or what have you. Now I have no idea what they're actually gonna do with all that. Obviously you can't keep all the picks, not because like you don't want to, but because like that's just it's too many draft picks. Is it like
No such
unless
thing as draft picks. Ask Boston.
Arn.
I mean like you keep like you use like I'm not saying you use a bunch of them. I'm not saying don't like if this like if like because what worst case scenario you get, especially like if some of them I think some of them are first rounders, some of them are second rounders. Like second rounders, you can take flyers on dudes. Like I think this dude seems interesting, or like I think we might be able to turn him into something. Just take a dude just cause, right? If he doesn't work out, you're good. Or like you get him in training camp and you're like, actually, you know what, he is ass, and like there's no salvaging him. Like you don't have to pay him. Um, with the first rounders, you get the best player that you can, maybe fill a need or what have you, and just trying to develop that talent, which is basically what the Thunder have done anyway. It's what most small market teams that have ever been good at some point in their histories have done. Like a lot of it is just ultimately your best players are going to be the dudes you already had over, like you drafted.
Yeah.
And maybe like one or two dudes like you got from free agency. But for some, now that I say it like that, I'm not even sure how Zach Randolph got over here. But that's a whole other thing for another day. But yeah.
Believe
Also,
Zach Randolph was free agency.
hmm?
I believe Zach Randolph was free agency.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I think he started off with his career in Minnesota, but
No,
I've been
it
wrong.
was I know he was in Portland for a while. Apparently that was a dumpster fire or something.
Yeah, the Jailblazers. Do you remember
Yeah.
those?
I do not, because when I really started following basketball, he was basically already a Grizzly. So I do not, but it's like I've heard about it. It sounds terrible.
Yeah, you can't do that
Besides, you have
nowadays.
a team that like to fight.
You couldn't call them no jailblazers nowadays. I guarantee that.
Oh no, that's racial undertones.
They got mad.
So many.
They got mad at thugs. So I highly doubt you could say jailblazers to a bunch of black people and be like, "Yeah, this is tight."
Oh,
But,
shoot, they wasn't meaning Yale was tight when they was calling them Jailblazers either. That was references to criminal records.
yeah.
Like,
Also the Thunder waived Austin Rivers.
He's probably going to the Bucks. I heard.
They just signed the Bucks just signed Jeff Teague.
Oh yeah. Oh, so
Like,
Austin Rivers to the Nets.
I didn't know Just T was in the league.
Yeah, he's still hanging around out here.
Wasn't Jeff Teague playing with Boston earlier this year?
I don't think so.
I'm almost sure one of the T's was playing with
Listen,
the Celtics.
you don't gotta say one of the T's. We all know one Marcus. Marcus in Israel or something like that right now. What are you talking about? One of the Teagues, man. Jeff
Yeah, he was with the Celtics. He was with the Celtics.
Yeah. What happened there?
He went playing 10 o'clock.
No, do you remember like the first couple games of the season? They looked really good with him. Like I think it went downhill afterwards, but they looked really good with him as the starting point guard. I was like, if this is your backup when Kimba comes back, you guys are kind of nice.
I don't really know. but he wasn't like looking at his numbers just kind of randomly. He wasn't playing poorly. Like he wasn't like it wasn't like him in Atlanta, to be sure, like by the
Yeah.
numbers. But like he was shooting really well from deep and just period, like 46% from deep. So I don't know. Like
And
there can
most,
be reasons
yeah.
why you get rid of him, but like they would all involve trying to get somebody else to fill a particular need or something.
Yeah.
But I haven't followed that super close.
And the most important thing that he did was keep the ball out of Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown's hands, who were both very capable, but still, you'd rather have a point guard than two young dudes most of the time.
So nice, dog. I'd have to put
He really is, but he
I think
shouldn't be your point.
Tatum and Jason Brown are both in that like Kawhi, like gotta get to their spots kind of thing. Players, you know what I mean?
Mm.
Like more of more of not Jeff T, more of Jalen Brown than Jason Tatum. But Jason Tatum still is like you know, like when he's out there like he playing with cones. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sometimes around like actual players, like he playing with cones. So it's pretty crazy.
Let's see. Also, according to an NBA agent, Lonzo likes playing with the Pelicans, but he doesn't like New Orleans, so he's probably about to try and leave in free agency.
Lonzo Ball is a point guard that teams will need.
Oh no, there's definitely gonna be a market.
Yeah, he's a point guard that teams will need. So he's going to be a wanted commodity, especially the way like the biggest knock against him was like shooting, right? That was always his biggest knock. Well, it's not knocked no more. So, you know, just depends what fit. You know what I mean? I don't know what would be the best fit in my opinion. Pelicans are probably the best fit, but I don't know what else would be the best fit for him. But there's obviously some fits out there, probably with like superstars. You know what I mean? So.
Apparently, he would like to end up with the Knicks or the Bulls.
Oh, Knicks or Bulls. Okay, interesting.
He wants to be with Zach LaVine. I get it.
Yeah. You know what I think New Orleans should do? Move to Seattle.
You know how big that market is? You know how big that market is for that city? There ain't no way they're moving.
Oh, I didn't say this is a actual thing they could do, but like this team ain't the same without Lonzo. Like you've said it like plenty of times. Like we get a different version of Zion when Lonzo's not out there. We get a different version of Brandon Ingram.
Granted, no version of Zion's bad. But Brandon Ingram, you don't want him doing too much. Like, and if he's a ball dominant, he's just like Jason Tatum, more like a Jaylen Brown. Like they're capable of doing things off the dribble, but like you want them to like do things off the dribble in the half court, not be like bringing the ball to court and all kind of stuff. Zion can literally do whatever he wants. He can make him do whatever he wants, right? Lonzo's gonna make the game easier for him, but he can do whatever he wants because he's just that ridiculous. So.
Well, I mean, if nothing else, you know, they lose Lonzo because he just doesn't like living in New Orleans. And in 2 years, they draft Kennedy Chandler because you need a passer. But yeah, they probably get someone in free agency.
Have you been to New Orleans?
Just to, like visit once or like actually hold up, wait. No. Actually, no, I haven't.
It's a really nice place.
Yeah, it's fun. Nice food.
I mean, I thought he might have actually was going to go for the Clippers though. The Clippers might actually ready to pick him up though, and I was really interested to see how that was going to be. But I'm not mad at Rondo Pate though.
He need to go to the Clippers next year just to go ahead and beat the Lakers just to get that under your belt. I would like to see that for the narrative.
Yeah, I got that. I dig that.
Yeah. I just think that'd be a fun story.
What also, I guess moving away from the players into the coaching carousel a little bit. Mike Woodson, long time NBA assistant, occasional NBA head coach, has decided to has agreed to a deal to coach for Indiana University.
I imagine you call that man an occasional head coach.
That's how
I don't know. Like I'm pretty.
Why dudes
Like,
be saying slick things? Childish.
no, it's just like he had like 2 head coaching stints, and like he's otherwise basically just been like a career assistant.
Occasional slick things.
But no, in full seriousness though,
I don't understand it. You're a substitute coach. You're disrespectful.
No, but full seriousness though, I'm not really sure how. Like, good for him, for deciding to try coaching college ball. But like, I don't know. It's just if I would think that like if you're like Indiana or somebody, right? Like it seems kind of a strange pickup. Like I suppose it's like a medium risk, potentially high reward if like it turns out he's a better college coach than a pro coach. But like
Johnson's been doing his thing, right?
Hmm?
Avery Johnson's been doing his thing, right? I mean, minus the upside.
Nah, he's not coaching Bama no more. He hasn't played the last 2 years.
Oh, so he. Never mind. All right, keep going. You proving I'm proving you right.
But like Woodson just hasn't been a good NBA. Like his record is he's under 500, like as a head coach.
Honestly, just might be a old dude who we want to not travel so much no more. You know what I mean? And Indiana was on mater. He wanted
like is college coach really the answer for that though?
I mean, it's better than the league. You know what I mean? It's better than 22 games each every other day, flying coast to coast. He might just want to be chilling.
It's like there are fewer games, yeah, but like there's recruiting, and like he's at a national school. He used to go all over the country for that.
Let's not pretend. They got it. Some coaches use their assistant coaches a lot more than others. Look, there are some head coaches that they'll go out there and they'll see the top 3 or 4 or not even 3 or 4, 2 or 3 people that they're highly recruiting. But after that, you're gonna see them assistant coaches out there speaking up for the coach. Like he might be one of them. You know what I mean? Like now we just gotta see, right? But he probably just using his NBA resume for a little bit of clout to go out there into the to go into Indiana. He's like, it's my old alma mater. He's doing all he can to stay more stationary than you would be as assistant coach in the NBA, and I guarantee getting paid handsomely.
Yeah.
Oh, he's probably getting paid well, but it's just like if maybe it's just me. I'm not like as far as like if we're talking like as a head coach, his resume isn't what you really like. It's not much to brag about, is what I'm saying.
He a coach in the league. He can brag enough, apparently.
Apparently, going in on this man.
And know that also, let's not get twisted. He a black man. They checking boxes.
And this is after Indiana has been kind of scrubby. Like they can't even recruit for real in their own state. Like I don't think this is gonna be good.
They like I don't know the working world in setting up black leadership to fail. Yeah. It's just a thing.
I can't wait to see how he does on the recruiting trail, to be honest with you. I feel like that's where it all makes sense, especially when you have that trickle down. Like if you come from the NBA with that lore, like you should be able to get somebody at least in that first year or two. You can lie to somebody. You can sweet talk them and tell them. You sweet talk them, tell them. You got Penny. Congratulations on the win.
Oh yes, they won the United.
But like if he does not recruit well within like the first 2 years, we really got to see what he does with the talent that's there at Indiana, because they're not a awful team.
Well, like I guess if I'm expressing concern, like off of his NBA record, which, in fairness, as we've stated before, a lot of that is just like whether or not your GM is any good at his job. It's like that, it would like you would look at it and express some concern about whether or not he'd be a good X's and O's guy. Now, whether or not he'd be a good development guy is something that's not necessarily going to show. But that would be part of the concern. Also, Shaka Smart is now the head coach for Marquette. Which
Congratulations.
he was not he was not fired. He left, which is fine. Like a lot of his players would be graduating and otherwise leaving for the league and whatever. So to some degree, get out while the getting's good, I suppose. And they've wanted your head for forever and a day anyway.
Yeah. For the past 3
which I've never completely understood, but it's just this is the.
Can I tell you what it is from the Texas brass?
Yeah. Go ahead, yeah. Sure.
They believe they're supposed to win way more than they are. They think they're top 2 or 3 in the Big 12 in just about every sport. So when they don't have that type of success, you're out of there. But y'all, it's just not that school.
This is what I heard. This is what I also heard a similar thing recently when in Kansas City they were for St. Patrick's Day they were calling it St. Patrick's Mahomes Day, which is whatever, however you want to. But they on the radio they were talking to his old high school football coach, and they were talking about how he went to Texas Tech and just the lure of Austin, Texas, though, right? University of Texas. And the guy was he was just the lure and the aura of Texas, the University of Texas, is not what it once was at all. And the University of Texas has yet to realize that that people are just fine going to Texas A&M or TCU or Texas Tech or wherever, right? In Texas, for instance. And they don't have that, they're not on a pedestal like they were in, I don't know, the 80s or the 90s or whatever it is. But the alumni and the funders and all kind of stuff just don't realize that. And it's step up. You know what I mean? It's modern times.
Yeah, they're stubborn, bro. That's the whole thing with the Eyes of Texas stuff. Them not trying to change the school song, even though they've had recruits tell them, if the song wasn't what it is, there's probably a better chance of me coming here.
What's up with the song?
I believe the tune is based off of a minstrel song.
Oh.
It's a Texas school and it's one of the first Texas schools. So 1800s type stuff. So it's a lot of goofiness to go along with going to the University of Texas. I don't know if y'all noticed since Shaka Smart's moving, they've already lost a recruit in Tamar Bates who plays for Montverde, or is it IMG?
Who's gonna be their head coach? You think?
I don't know, and I don't care.
Here's the thing, right? So they apparently parted. My understanding, right, is they parted with Rick Barnes and were upset with Shaka for basically the same reason. That reason basically being struggles in March, ultimately, right? And I think I've seen the question of why didn't Shaka bring have it stuff or whatever to Texas, and apparently part of the reason is the players that he can get at Texas don't want to buy into that, to do what you would need to do that. But also it's just like one of the things with him over at Texas during his tenure is just like I think this was the first year where like the team's been healthy for real. Like it's also like his first team that was actually like old, where like you had a bunch of seniors and stuff for real. But it's also his first one where like nobody like got injured or like some wild stuff happened or whatever in the middle of the season or like before the season started. Um, and like I think I also kind of feel like people don't make proper mental adjustments for certain situations when like trying to calibrate or come up with an idea of how much things matter, right? Because like Texas lost to what Albion Christian in the first round of the tournament a couple weeks ago, and like I get that like they should have been able to win a game against some smaller school or what have you. They were one of the best teams in the country all year, pretty much. But it's also just like as far as like the risk of losing to like the ease of winning to like the perception of how easy it should be to win the game. A game against a smaller in-state program that is halfway decent is like the perception of how easy it should be for them to win is miles apart from like how easy the game would actually be because they're going to show up for the game and they were already a decent team to begin with. But like so like they're going to show up, they're going to do what they do, and they just don't like you, right? They just don't. So like the idea, and like to me, like the idea, and why it's probably why them big schools don't play those games for real because the little school is going to play harder. They're going to want it more. They're gonna go for 50-50 balls and try and drain every single shot. So like I wouldn't put too much stock in that one for me personally, right? Just because of the understanding that. But they've wanted him gone for a while, and like I don't know. It's just like, what are y'all expecting to happen? It's just like you, and so in fairness, it's the confusion I have for them doesn't extend like I have for Illinois with football. Where like I'm not sure what you're expecting because you're only good like once a decade. Um, but it's still just kind of like is Texas. It's just like they consistently field good teams. I get that you don't have the success in March that you would like, but like at a certain point, I'm just kind of like, what are you expecting? Like at a certain point, you would think, because like the thing with March is like there are a million and one things that can go wrong to keep you from getting anywhere for real. And even if you want to be like, oh, maybe Shaka's just not that good in March, maybe he's not, but it's kind of it seems like one of those things where it's just like you didn't have much success with him in March. You didn't have much success with the last guy or two in March. And like mind you, he's actually been doing good. They've recruited well. Like the team, even though like I guess they've considered to have underperformed for various reasons, a number of which were outside of Smart's control personally, but like they've been good teams.
Yeah.
And like it is, and I think it's, and I don't know, maybe they try and like find somebody to get like Beard isn't about to leave Texas Tech, but like that's my understanding. Like if there's a dude they offer, there's probably a dude they try and get, but I think his buyout is like 7 mil or something. It's something big because of course it'd be big because the administration at Texas Tech isn't stupid, but um, it's just but it'd be one of those things where it's just like kind of with Calipari at Kentucky outside of this season. It's just like outside of like giving you like putting you in the position that you really want to be in to be competitive for these things. Like there's not a whole lot more you can ask from a coach for real. Like you can ask for more, and like teams do. Like he's spent 3 years only like with like not never making out of the first weekend, but it's just like most coaches don't. Most coaches aren't even in the tournament. Like, but he left. He was smart about it. He left before they fired him or what have you. He's going to Marquette, which is a smaller program, but he'll probably be able to get dudes who buy more into like what he does, and be able to over recruit for whatever you consider Marquette to be.
Yeah.
So like it's a really good, like it was a smart move for him and a smart move for Marquette. There's not really any downside for them. Texas without a coach, and they will have hope until they get frustrated with the next guy. Like a bunch of these programs that that have these super high expectations that constantly flounder do. Just going from coach to coach. But maybe for all we know, Texas gets a dude and like he's the guy and he brings them to the promised land. But like, oh no, he won't. He won't. But maybe, like, it's technically possible, right? Anything is a possibility until like
That
it
option
doesn't
doesn't
happen.
exist. Yes.
But like I'm all like just me personally, I'm not really sure who you go out and get if you were them. Because like I would assume you'd want somebody who's won in March, but like dudes don't get those jobs if they didn't win in March.
Get Sister Jean.
But like she actually that well when you get in trouble she calls Jesus. Just like, look, Jesus, they're acting up again. Like, get them right for me. And he just like comes down, no questions asked. But like the issue with that though is just like the issue, like it'd be a recruiting issue because like she's super old. Like, what if like y'all like practice about to start, she just doesn't show up one day? Actually, that got super dark.
Right.
I take it back. I take it back. God, that got super dark. But
left turn. Left turn.
but yeah, it'll be interesting to see how Smart does. It'll be interesting to see how Woodson does, and like the coaching carousel will probably start spinning here in a little bit. I think in some cases it has, but like I don't know what to tell you with some of it, and some of it's kind of wait and see. I'm sure. But yeah, and there's still some recruiting stuff to finish up. Is there anything else of note?
I am good unless you guys want to go ahead and talk about the Sweet 16 a little bit.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I don't
Also, side note, this
It's all
Baylor UConn game is amazing. It's really good. I've only been like watching snippets for real, but it's as good as you would expect it to be.
Wait, you said
Baylor UConn women.
Oh.
Yeah. Like it'll probably be over. Like for all I know, it'll be over by the time the podcast is done. But it's at like half right now. Anyway, moving on. Gonzaga has basically been Gonzaga. Like you know what that means. They've just kind of whooped people to this point. Like they got Creighton without too much trouble, right? Also USC got Oregon, and like in fairness, this is farther than I thought USC would make it. But I also thought they'd be playing different teams.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I thought they'd be playing Iowa as opposed to Oregon. The Pac-12 was wildly overperformed in the tournament this year. Like, I only kind of peeked at the USC Oregon game, but it was kind of like it was one-sided. Like it was, Oregon was getting what basically the whole game. And sad news for me, just because of chaos and general enjoyment. Oral Roberts lost to Arkansas.
That last shot was the best shot you could have possibly gotten.
Honestly. And like it just didn't fall. It's just one of those things.
Yeah.
Absmith got buckets like he usually does. In fairness, it was weird watching it though, because like actually like getting a good look for me was kind of like it kind of felt like he wasn't hitting shots like that. But like you look at the numbers and you look at the percentages, and he was just fine. What? Oh, Banner was basically non-existent this game for some reason. Like so, but like Arkansas was getting eaten up by the role players though. Like dudes who like don't score like that for the team. I think they have a couple of them in like 10, 12, I think 15 points maybe. And it's just like I thought like because of, like I was like Arkansas is not winning this one because it's just like it's like I guess O'Banner wasn't like didn't show up like he really needed to, which would be like at all in terms of scoring, but like they were getting it's like y'all are getting eaten up by role players. This isn't a good look if you're trying to win the game. Like they're scoring at will on you. Basically, they're hit like it just doesn't really matter. You're letting them get to the rim, like they're knocking down semi-contested shots. It was a bad look. But somehow Arkansas won anyway. Like it didn't make sense, and like Arkansas fans are being assholes online about it because people are just kind of like, y'all really shouldn't have gotten this far, which is a fair argument because I think they've last couple games they've been down most of them. Like they played, credit to them, they played just good enough to win. Right? They played just good enough to win, and if you're an Arkansas fan, you take that because a win is a win, right? Survive in advance, lose, go home. Just good enough to win is good enough to keep playing, but it's just kind of like I don't know. Like, is someone like if you see that, it's like maybe they've just been getting lucky to a certain extent. Not all of it, obviously. Like, you have to be good enough to even get into a position to be lucky to begin with, but still.
Yeah, not a
Um,
fan of cocky fans because you're not playing. You're just watching other people play, and you think that gives you the right to be cocky. Like, who are you? And I say that about Lakers fans and Yankees fans and Patriots fans, and like you can go through the list, right? Duke fans, whatever.
mhm.
You're not playing. Like, what gives you the right to be like, you don't deserve to be here? You don't deserve to talk about this game. Like, what are you talking about? Like, shut up. That's always been one of my biggest pet peeves of like fandom.
That's actually, yeah, I completely understand that. It's kind of a weird thing. It's like, yeah, your team is good. Be happy, enjoy it. Don't talk needless shit. It's just, it's just unnecessary.
Be a fan. Don't be a fiend for your team. Like, what are you doing? like relax. You be
Like, it's
tripping. Huh?
while it lasts.
Y'all know the word fan is short for fanatic.
Yeah, but that's why there's a reason
Fair.
why people say fan and not fanatic. There's a reason for that. Don't no one want to be referred to as a fanatic. A fan, you cool with. Fanatic, a little too much.
It's surprisingly accurate in a number of cases, though.
Oh,
Yeah.
I know, and I named a couple of teams where that is
Mhm.
definitely the case.
Yes.
Those are always the teams that, unless it's about their team, they don't actually know about the sport. Kobe, R.I.P. Kobe #1. Kobe the best player ever. Relax.
Baylor got Nova, which I don't know, kind of to be expected. It would hurt like your facilitator being out is gonna hurt you at some point, and it makes sense. It would hurt you against a team that like shoots amazingly well and plays good defense. So
Let me ask you a question,
yeah,
Calvin. Is there
hmm
a reason why the Baylor formula is to have a bunch of black guys and one white guy who shoots?
I mean, in fairness
Like,
to Baylor, they all shoot, but
no,
like
no. But I can never remember a time where Baylor didn't just have one white guy out there who just a shooter. Like, I can't remember one time where that wasn't the case with this coach.
I don't know, like do what works for you. It might just be one of them things that at a certain point you get the best players who want to play for you and or like to fill a particular need for your crew. And it's just like he shoot like I see him over at like Peach Jam or whatever, and he's shooting the shit out the ball. Just like let me get him. Like we already got facilitators, right? He doesn't need to create his own shot. He just needs to make them.
You got everybody that can do everything else. Well, let's just find a shooter.
I mean, like that's real though. So, like at a certain point, you
No,
just
it is. I just always I realized that recently. I was like, Baylor always has this one white guy who can just shoot like lights out, and like that's just been like the formula ever since I've been playing like since like 2010. I'm just like, all right, do your thing. Whatever works. But he ain't really
I
want to
mean, it
shoot
beats
right
being
there.
irrelevant. It beats being irrelevant, and they were irrelevant before like 2010.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, they started being relevant with Pierre.
Yeah.
Pierre is
Yeah,
when they started being relevant.
right.
Pierre Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Pierre Jackson was like 2010, 11 when he came from community college. And then
Yeah.
that's when they started being relevant, and then they haven't really teetered off since then.
Him and what? Percy Jones the third, I want to think.
Yep,
Perry Jones. Yeah.
Perry Jones. Yep, and then that's when they started being relevant, and all of a sudden they just been consistent since then. And this year they have a strong chance to win the championship for the first time in a minute.
Oh, in like 60 years?
They won't because actually I won't
Gonzaga.
say they won't. If it's Baylor versus Gonzaga and Baylor's playing like the best Baylor can play, they can really beat anybody. It's just Gonzaga is really good. So like we just haven't seen them lose yet. But if anybody's gonna beat them, it's gonna be Baylor.
And look, here's the thing on that. Gonzaga has all of the things that you need to beat Baylor. And I think Baylor is just going to be at a disadvantage because of that. They got the rebounding, they got the bodies that can guard you. Like, and you probably not going to outscore Gonzaga.
Wait, for Baylor and Gonzaga to win, for Baylor and Gonzaga to play, they have to play a national championship, right?
Yeah.
Right.
I
But,
have
like,
if they both get to national championship, that's gonna be a fire game though.
It is.
like, so like I don't want it just because like I want to be right, but I also like I also want the game because like we didn't get it in the regular season, right? But like a concern that I've had for Baylor, which hasn't really needed to be borne out because like they've because because trying to make a good bracket's a crapshoot, and like they didn't meet a lot of teams that I thought they would at this point. But like one of my concerns that like they tend like the two or so games they lost, they shot terribly from deep. And like they don't get to the line like that as a team. Like they only get to the line a handful of times a game, and they do not shoot well from like the free throw. Like for a team that shoots this well from deep, they are surprised. Like they're atrocious from the free throw line. Um, like I think it's in like the 60s, the team free throw percentage. But like they're like the best, like one of the best, if not the best 3-point shooting team in the country. And like assuming I am correct, and we will see how these things bear out. Oh, it's not okay. But like Houston is currently up almost 20 points on Oregon State at the half. But like if Baylor I think Houston will be in the finals with Gonzaga. We will see. But like one of the things that Houston does that no one else in the country does for real, I don't think, is like playing even good shooting teams go to like play Houston and become chuckers. Like Houston's defense is amazing. Like they have like if you play Houston, like as on aggregate, right? You play Houston, you will not shoot well. You will not shoot well from two, you will not shoot well from deep. Like and like they make the game gets ugly just off the strength of that, right? And like I feel like if those teams meet head to head, I feel like it's one of those things where like Houston will turn Baylor into chuckers, and Houston will still hit what they hit probably because like they do this all the time. It's just like you play ugly games occasionally. We live here, right? Um, and it's like we'll see. Like I like a lot of Houston's players. Grimes is kind of a problem offensively. Drew runs it basically. Like he's a good facilitator. He's a big guard, like 6'5". Like they just Sasser's a good shooter, and like they all play good. Like they play amazing defense as a team. So like assuming that Final Four happens and like some wild stuff doesn't happen, like Baylor loses or like Oregon State improbably plays just well enough to beat Houston, who's not a team that is easy to play well enough, just good enough to beat, just because of how they play. Like it'll be a fun game if nothing else, right? It might be ugly. For all I know, one of the other teams just gets blown out. It probably won't happen, but it'll be interesting. Gonzaga will probably get USC because they got the bigs to hang, and you can't like Alan said, you can't really outscore Gonzaga. Like if you try to do a shooting contest against Gonzaga, you will lose. You just will, because they play good defense, and like they don't miss, and they will find shots to make. Like watching them is it's kind of it's really it's something else. It's an experience. I'll put it like that. Also, Michigan's gonna play UCLA after UCLA managed to get Alabama. In a game that went into overtime, and like Bama just kind of fell apart defensively in overtime. It was, I don't even know. That was just kind of an odd game. But good on UCLA to make this far. Nobody saw it coming because of course they didn't. There's a reason y'all were in the playing game. And it's the truth though. Like, but they're gonna play Michigan, who also got farther than I thought they would get without Livers, and like they've been convincing in those wins. So maybe I overvalued how good Livers, not how good he was, but how important he was to the team continuing to run, which is fair because a lot of teams, your more important players dip out and like get hurt, and it's just like it's kind of a mess. But that's not the case with Michigan. They've kind of been on a roll. They were in control against Florida State basically the entire time. Like the high scoring games were kind of boring, honestly. The last 2 days, like it was just like the team that won was in control the whole way. Also, Syracuse was never didn't really look like they'd ever beat Houston. Houston turned them into chuckers. Buddy Boeheim was who's been basically automatic the last couple of games, been shooting out of his mind. Did not shoot well against Houston. They know how to shut shooters down. But on that note, these next couple games will be interesting. Baylor against Arkansas, Gonzaga against USC. They should be entertaining if nothing else. Right? I feel like we know how those games end. The Mobleys aren't saving USC from elimination against Gonzaga. I have no idea how Arkansas got here, but it probably ends here. Oregon State is looking like they're about to get blown out by Houston. And I actually have no idea what's going to happen with the Michigan UCLA game. But if it plays like it seems like it's going to, Michigan's going to win. It's not going to be particularly close. It is just going to be a thing. I don't know what to tell you on that. Also, again, this Baylor UConn game is really, really good. And it's probably the best game that's going to get played all day. So, yeah. Anything else? I feel like I've just kind of rambled.
Oh no, bro. Look, you doing the this is Calvin's corner, bro. This is you. This is college basketball, bro. This is your segment.
I had nothing to input. I had no kind of input.
Right? Look, when the Traveling Hooper came together, we knew exactly what our spots were. NBA, college basketball, high school basketball. That's what we're gonna do.
But yeah,
bare minimum.
Granted, when this comes out, this UConn Baylor game will be over. But when it finally drops, right? This game will have long been decided. But if someone's listening to it and didn't watch the game, go on ESPN.com, watch it. It's kind of amazing.
Yeah. But if that is everything, about time to wrap it up.
Like Trojan.
Yeah.
Okay. On that note, thank you guys for tuning in for another episode of the Traveling Hoopers podcast. I am your host, Alan Pettigrew, and these fine gentlemen can go ahead and sign off for themselves.
Once again, everybody, I'm Calvin McGowan. It's always a pleasure to be here. As always, you can listen to us wherever you listen to podcasts. If you're joining us on YouTube, leave like, share, and subscribe. Leave something in the comments. And enjoy the tournaments and stuff, because it only comes around once a year, and it didn't come around last year.
Yeah.
And it's okay. Your bracket's in shambles. You don't care anymore. I know. I'm there too. But yeah. So enjoy the rest of your week.
And Philip Dixon. And if you're smart like me, you are a teacher and you have all your students fill out brackets and you tell them what to do. So you have like 17 different examples. So you're not going to be really wrong. You're going to be way wrong sometimes, but sometimes you're going to be really right. So, do your thing, finesse the system, and, I'm out of 5,000.
Man, crowdsource the bracket.
All right.